In April 2013, Mick Philpott is sentenced to life for setting fire to his family home and killing 6 children. But shameless Mick began destroying the lives of those closest to him more than 30 years ago. This is the story of Philpott's first victim, told on television for the very first time, beginning a pattern of behaviour that would eventually lead to the tragic events of 2012.
He stabbed me 27 times and then tried to gut me. You never say no to Mick Philpott. You never ever say no.
Even as a young man, Philpott was a monster.
Britain's Darkest Taboos reveals the shocking real-life stories behind the most horrific acts of familial crime, including murder.
Laura had to witness her own mother being shot dead.
He took our life, and our Alison's, and our Tanya's.
Child destruction.
This is one of the most brutal murders I've come across.
He stabbed my daughter and granddaughter.
And incest.
She stopped seeing her father as a father. She starts seeing him as the sexual predator that he is.
I never thought he'd go as far as to rape me, ever in a million years. He was my dad.
Kim Hill is born on the 11th of June 1961, the youngest of 3 siblings to father Bill, an army officer, and mum Shirley.
My mum, she used to work in the NAFI, so me and my sister would totter off over there and get pop and whatever. I remember my dad being around, but not a lot, because obviously he was on manoeuvres and things and that. We've always been a close family.
The family move around a lot, as Kim's dad's still serving in the army.
And then we moved from Chester to Derby. That's when my dad came out of the army.
Kim has a happy childhood and is a confident teenager.
I was one of the lads. I used to, play football, and I was sort of the tomboy. We just used to play out as just normal kids.
In 1976, at the age of 15, Kim meets 19-year-old Mick Philpott, who was in the army at the time.
And he was on the corner with his mate and whatever, and this particular day he says, "Gives your phone number then." And I did, and it just went from there.
Forensic psychologist Dr Keri Nixon works with Merseyside Police, profiling serious violent offenders, and has been looking into young Philpott's character.
He was a loud character. He was in the army. He was trained to be in the army. He was full of himself. He was arrogant. He was cocky. He was the life and soul of the party. He wanted the attention on him from that young age. He had the confidence that most 19-year-old boys didn't have, and that made him very attractive to young girls.
It felt special because he was older and he was sort of worldly wise.
Psychologist Emma Kenny works with victims of crime in her clinics and recognises why Kim would find someone like Philpott attractive.
She finds herself in a relationship with a young man that initially she finds attractive. He seems to be doing well, he's in the army. She's obviously quite excited and feeling grown up that she's got this older guy, and her friends are probably all involved in this situation, enjoying it with her.
When you get your sort of first boyfriend and you get them butterflies in your stomach, and it was, from what I can remember, it was like that.
The relationship becomes serious very quickly, and Kim remembers Philpott started showing signs of controlling behaviour. He regularly goes AWOL from the army, trying to catch Kim out, as he's convinced she's cheating on him. And his jealous paranoia soon leads to violence.
I used to have to be in for about 8:30, and I was a bit late. And I was walking down the hill to get to our house, and about 2 doors down, he jumped out. And he wanted to know where I'd been and all that, and I told him where I'd been and that, and he called me a liar and I was cheating on him, and that was the first time he ever hit me. And it was sort of slapped around the face and that. Oh, he started crying after that, saying he was sorry, it'd never happen again, don't finish with him and all this, that and the other, don't tell me, Dad, and that, and I didn't. I felt sorry for him. I thought, no, you know, it's not him. But then it started happening a little bit more frequent.
By the time things start to go wrong, she's scared, and it's her fear that rules her in this situation, and it's her fear that sustains her in this situation. He knows how to control her. He threatens her, and he tells her what will happen if she leaves him. She doesn't actually feel that she has any choices.
15-year-old Kim quickly realises one thing about Mick Philpott.
You never say no to Mick Philpott. You never ever say no. Because if you do, you pay for it.
Dr Keri Nixon believes Philpott would have displayed signs of this behaviour even as a child.
I expect if I could view Philpott as a young person in school, even as a 7-year-old, I imagine Philpott was the type of child that people didn't say no to. He got his own way. And that is something that is a personality trait of Philpott, an inherent personality trait.
Kim tells how Philpott was not afraid of being violent towards her in public.
He used to play in the pool team at the local pub, and me and my cousin was sat watching, and they wanted to play doubles. So, and he hadn't got a partner, so he wanted me to play, and I said, no, I'm talking to my cousin. He got the thick end of the pool cue and whacked it straight across my mouth in front of a pub load of blokes, and not one of them did anything. My mouth just burst open bleeding. I ran out the door, my cousin came after me, and he dragged me back in and made me sit, and not one bloke said a word to him.
The level of violence escalates.
He'd often punch me in the face. He'd crack my cheekbone, broke my nose. I've had bite marks on my cheeks. When he got really angry, he's bent my fingers back and broke my fingers.
So this was somebody who was willing to go to absolute extremes to get exactly what he wanted. And unless he wanted you to leave, you were staying put.
Terrifyingly, Philpott starts using weapons on his 16-year-old girlfriend.
Another time he got a lump hammer, and he actually held my leg, and well, I've still got the scar now, and he smashed my knee.
16-year-old Kim is too scared to tell anyone about the horrific abuse, and she covers for Philpott.
Whenever he did anything like that, to cover it, and if anybody ever saw it, I'd say, don't say anything, was I'd go to school and make out I'd had a fight for the school to phone my dad and say, Kim's been in a fight again. So that's how I'd get away with not telling him that it'd be Philpott that had done it.
We recognised that she was defending him to a degree because she didn't know where to turn or who to go to. It also makes me think that she may have been protecting those around her. She was probably concerned that Mick Philpott might hurt the people that she loved. And all of these things are incredibly difficult to deal with when you're in a possible first relationship. You don't know what to expect.
Dr Keri Nixon recognises that Philpott's behaviour is the start of years of abuse towards women.
This is 35 years before the events that have shocked us all. This man has been systematically abusing women for 35 years. 35 years of destroying people's lives.
It's the summer of 1978, and Kim is desperate to end their relationship. But when she does, it has horrific consequences.
He has been scorned, he has been hurt, she has rejected him, and for that, simple, she'll pay with her life.
He says, I told you, if I can't have you, no fucker's having you.
When the paramedics arrived, he said, I wouldn't bother. She's a goner, I've done a good job on her.
Told for the very first time on television, this is the story of Mick Philpott's very first victim, Kim Hill, and the attack on her, which took place more than 30 years before the crime that shocked a nation. It's the summer of 1978, and 17-year-old Kim Hill has been in a relationship with 21-year-old Mick Philpott for more than 2 years, but Kim wants out.
I think I saw how other people of my age was living. And I thought, oh, I don't go out to town and I don't go out drinking and I can't do this and I can't do that. And that's when I thought, I don't want this for the rest of my life.
Kim ends the relationship, but Philpott takes it badly and she remembers how he assaulted her.
Everything in life is about Philpott. So therefore, if somebody dares leave him, that's when things escalate.
A few days later, Philpott calls Kim, asking her to return his records.
So I text him this box of records up and he says, that's not all. I says, yes it is. I says, that's all, everything, there's nothing in your ass, because my dad's checked my bedroom.
Philpott then gives Kim a chilling warning.
I went up and handed him these records and he sort of leaned over into my ear and he went, this isn't over.
Philpott displays risk factors across all different types of domestic abuse perpetrators. He's controlling, he's violent, there's issues around breakdown. Philpott does not like people saying no to him.
The very next night, on July the 4th, 1978, Kim returns home from a night out with a friend. But unbeknown to her, Philpott has been following her.
He'd watched my every movement all night.
Kim goes to bed and Philpott waits until the coast is clear.
He waited for my dad to go to work, which was around about the midnight time. Gone into the house and actually sat in the front room for 2 hours. He'd gone through my purse to call me money. He'd gone through drawers, he'd gone through all sorts. And it was my dad's knife, dad's flick knife, that he got out of the drawer that he used on us.
Philpott has no moral compass, he has no sense of conscience. As far as he is concerned, he has been scorned, he has been hurt, she has rejected him, and for that, simple, she'll pay with her life.
The breakup has tipped Philpott over the edge, and he is about to take his revenge on Kim. Armed with Kim's dad's knife, Philpott makes his way upstairs.
I sensed that somebody was in my room, something wasn't right, and I opened my eyes. The next thing, this hand comes over my mouth, and he went, fucking scream, and I'll kill you. So he takes his hand away. What's the first thing I'm going to do? Scream. And he says, I told you, if I can't have you, no fucker's having you.
Philpott stabs Kim repeatedly in the chest.
I thought he was punching me. And I remember I was screaming, and the next thing, my mum's at my bedroom door, and then she'd gone, and he'd gone. And I looked down, and there was all this blood sleeping through my fingers. And then the next thing, I heard all this noise and commotion, and I tried to get up and I couldn't.
He literally punctures every vital organ. This is a prolonged attack on Kim.
Leaving Kim bleeding to death in the bedroom, Philpott chases her mum down the stairs, repeatedly stabbing her.
I heard my sister saying, Mum, Mum, what's up? And then it sort of like went all hazy.
The very fact that her mother is then attacked demonstrates that he has no care for anybody's life. Her mother did nothing about this. Her mother hadn't ended the relationship. She's got no responsibility, but she gets in the way. And for Philpott, anybody who gets in the way of his plans will pay.
He stabbed my mum 11 times, mostly in the back, and he'd got one where he'd stabbed her in the breastbone, and her scar goes from there all the way under and then down her back.
He has no consequential thinking. He is a man without conscience, which means he is a really, really dangerous human being.
Philpott is determined to finish Kim off. He goes back upstairs.
The next thing, I remember him coming into the bedroom, and then I sort of like remember looking up at him, was sort of like hazy, and his hand was coming down with the knife. He'd put the knife in at the top and pulled the knife down. It actually slit my stomach open, and then I don't remember anymore. That was it. I woke up in hospital about a week later.
Neighbours hear the screams and call 999. When the paramedics arrive, chillingly, Philpott is sitting on the stairs, still holding the bloodied knife.
When the paramedics arrived, he actually was laughing and said to the paramedics, "I wouldn't bother. She's a goner. I've done a good job on her." This shows his complete lack of remorse.
Although she dies twice on the way to hospital, miraculously Kim survives, but her injuries are horrendous.
He stabbed me 27 times and then tried to, obviously the long one, tried to gut me. Apparently I was just completely ripped open. He'd gone through both lungs, my liver, my kidneys, my bladder, my bowel.
Kim spends 4 months in hospital. Philpott is arrested and charged with attempted murder of Kim and GBH on Kim's mum, Shirley. The case goes to trial in December 1978, and Philpott is found guilty of both charges. He is sentenced to 7.5 years for the attempted murder and a concurrent 5 years for the GBH.
The judge described Philpott as an incredibly dangerous man, and he was absolutely right.
After the conviction, Philpott sends Kim a letter from prison.
He wrote to me on the basis of, "I know that you'll forgive me and I didn't mean to do any harm. Come and see me soon and we can sort out, and when we get out we'll start again and get married." And I was gobsmacked. I was literally gobsmacked. I showed it to my mum and dad, and it was just disbelief. He was prattling on like he was on holiday.
He has no understanding that there is another person involved in this situation, another person that he has almost murdered. In Philpott's mind, if that's what he wants to happen, that's going to happen.
Of all the offenders that I've researched, Philpott is the most narcissistic offender I've ever come across.
Of course, for Kim by this point has grown, she's older, she goes straight to the police, gives them the letter and says, "Keep this man away from me."
More than 30 years later, Kim still has the physical and emotional scars of what Philpott did to her.
I've had a lot of operations to remove things and remove scar tissue and cysts, and which is what he caused. I had to have a hysterectomy quite early in age because I got a prolapse wound through the scarring and everything. It ruined my life. It ruined my life. I don't want to talk anymore.
Philpott is released from prison in 1982, just 3.5 years after his conviction for the attempted murder of Kim.
Even as a young man, Philpott was a monster. And it's shocking that despite that level of violence, that just over 3 years later, he was let out to ruin more women's lives.
Over the next 20 years, Philpott has 2 long-term relationships, which bear him 5 children. Both relationships end acrimoniously, and with threats of violence from Philpott. In 2001, he meets Mairead Duffy, a 19-year-old single mum who had previously been in an abusive relationship.
She was ideal for Philpott. She was vulnerable, she was young, she was needy, she was isolated, and he knew that with very little coaxing, he would appear to be somebody that could give her the protection and support necessary and that she was lacking in her life.
The relationship becomes serious very quickly.
Mairead, very soon in their relationship, became pregnant, and at this point, he has her fully under his control. She's a young woman, she's pregnant, she needs to stay with him.
In 2001, Philpott meets 17-year-old orphan and single mother, Lisa Willis. Philpott's best friend, Mick Russell, remembers meeting Lisa for the first time.
I went to see him again, and Lisa was there, and I said, like, who's that? And he said, I'm the new girlfriend, Mick. I said, "What, you got married?" He said, "No, but I got another one."
Lisa fits the profile for Philpott, and she becomes his mistress and moves into the family home on Victory Road with Mairead and her 2 children. Philpott marries Mairead in 2003. Lisa is the bridesmaid at the wedding. Philpott describes the sleeping arrangements on television years later.
There was a caravan outside which was basically used for sex, and he would alternate which woman would go in on which night.
Now, normally, if this caravan's rocking, you better not come knocking, because this is where it all happens.
Sex was his life. As soon as he opened his eyes, that's all he talked about till he went to sleep. Every conversation had to have something to do with sex in it. Every joke had to have something to do with sex in it.
How do you choose who gets it?
I don't know, sir, if it's both of them. If they both want it the same night, mate, I won't take one without the other, because that's...
Can I ask you another question? I've got to ask you this.
Go on, mate.
Do you have threesomes?
I knew that was coming. No.
Never had a threesome?
No, you know that.
He is an over-sexed individual. He talks quite openly about his sexual deviancy. He likes to have sex with more than one woman at a time. He likes to have sex in front of people. He will have concurrent relationships running at the same time. And he manages to control the women in his life to be able to do that. And that's the reason why he selects vulnerable young girls.
Just say, like, for instance, I went out, and there was some nice young lady, and she gave me the eye and the come on, and I knew she wanted it. I'd oblige, because I'm a red-hot-blooded male at the end of the day. And I'm not going to, even though my wife's listening, I ain't going to turn it down.
He didn't have any respect for women. At the end of the day, women was just there to do what he wanted to do.
In 2006, Philpott decides to go on television as he needs a bigger home for his dysfunctional family. Mairead's 6 children, including 1 from a previous relationship, and Lisa's 5 children, including 1 from a previous relationship, all live in Philpott's 3-bedroom council house on Victory Road, Allerton, Derby. The press label Philpott Shameless Mick.
He was the type of man that any attention was better than no attention.
Oh, look, the scum, the scrounger, the shameless Mick. What? Fuck all of you.
This isn't just narcissism where they have an inflated ego. This is narcissistic to the point where everybody in Philpott's life is manipulated for his purposes.
His dysfunctional family shocks the nation, but Philpott seems to enjoy the notoriety.
If the public don't like it, you can get fucked.
Philpott revels in the media attention, taking part in another ITV documentary, trying to portray himself as a loving father.
I see. It's gone down like
all that you see him playing on the floor with the kids and that wasn't none of that. That was all for the camera. Mick never done nothing. He used to sit in his chair watching football or spend all night fishing and things like that.
For every kid that they had, they got more money. But, you know, it got too much, because nearly every year they was having a baby. One of them was pregnant.
Philpott's family receive more than £60,000 a year on benefits. Plus, Mairead and Lisa work and give their pay directly to him. Philpott refuses to work.
Everybody in Philpott's life is manipulated and used for Philpott's gain. His children become numbers. Numbers equal money. The more children, the more money. The more children, the better the opportunity in terms of housing. Children were just another part of Philpott's selfish, egocentric, narcissistic, antisocial personality to get what Philpott wants.
5 years later, Philpott makes headlines again, and his greed costs 6 of his children their young lives.
I looked out the window, and that's when I just seen the flames at the door, and I just knew I knew it was Mick's house straight away.
You just knew as soon as you see him come out. The little souls are gone, man.
It's February 2012, and Mick Philpott is about to lose control over his life. Tired of his behaviour, his girlfriend, Lisa Willis, leaves him and takes her 5 children with her.
I don't think he would have took it very good at all. I think he would have been very upset about it, and upset for the fact that she actually had the guts to walk away from him. He couldn't control her anymore then.
Kim Hill, who almost paid with her life when she left Philpott more than 30 years earlier, believes Philpott will take his revenge.
It'd be, well, if I can't have you, nobody's going to have you, which is what he said to me. So he's never changed. He's never changed in 30 years.
She's doing what we already know he really disliked. She's taking control. And that means that he's being affected by somebody else's actions, and that's not the way it works for Philpott. He's the person who directs his life, so he's angry. And this begins a chain of events that leads to the death of his children.
Philpott fights for custody of his children.
He wouldn't have looked at them kids as, oh, they're my children and I want custody. He'd look, they're my possession. I'm going to lose money for not having them kids.
Philpott comes up with a plot to frame Lisa, and it involves his friend Paul Mosley and, of course, his wife, Mairead. He plans to set fire to the family home and then rescue the children before blaming Lisa for the attack.
Even if they were just intending to set fire to a house, that's a terrifying thing to do. It shows that there were no consequences. Neither of them were concerned.
Any mother watching this would recoil in horror at the idea of lighting a fire beneath where your children are sleeping. I've never come across such selfish disregard for their children. In this case, Mairead doesn't protect her children. In fact, she actually puts them in harm. And that's unforgivable.
In Mairead's eyes, Mick would come before the children. She did everything to make him happy. She gave birth to them. She should protect them babies. And she chose to do what he wanted, knowing that her babies was in danger.
It's May the 10th, 2012, the night before Philpott has a court hearing over the custody of his children with Lisa. After putting their 6 children to bed, Philpott and Mairead invite Mosley over to the house on Victory Road.
Imagining them being put to bed that evening, they're kissing their mum and dad goodnight. They're talking to each other, being like children, excited little boys and girls in bed. And Philpott and Mairead are doing that, knowing what they're about to do.
Philpott, Mairead and Mosley are drinking heavily, and they decide to have a threesome on the pool table downstairs in the house, while the children are asleep upstairs.
Mairead was off her head on weed. They had a threesome with Paul Mosley. Then hours later, the fire started.
Mairead and Philpott had been engaging in high-level sexual activity. They weren't thinking about the consequences. They weren't concerned. They weren't anxious. They weren't afraid. This is something that, as a well-adjusted human being, you can't think of in such a way.
Around 3:30 a.m, Philpott, Mairead and Mosley set fire to the house at the bottom of the stairs.
Cladding all up his stairs and his living room wood, all wood and varnished. As you put petrol on the mats of that, what's it going to do? It's going to go up like a bomb.
Police then take a phone call from Mairead.
What's your name, Mrs. Philpott. Mrs. Philpott. How many kids are in the house, Mrs. Philpott? Where are they?
6 of them.
Sorry?
6 of them.
Brothers Jamie and Darren Butler live opposite the Philpotts on Victory Road.
I just heard somebody shouting, and I looked out the window, and that's when I just seen the flames at the door, and I just knew I knew it was Mick's house straight away.
Jamie wakes his brother, and they both head straight for the house.
I know my brother. I'd be thinking what I'm thinking. Get these kids out.
Michael, can you see any flames? No, I can see that smoke. I can't see anything else but that smoke.
Philpott and Mairead are standing in a neighbour's garden, watching the fire.
There was no emotion out of none of them. If you would have grabbed hold of me and said, please, come on, let's get in there, my kids are in there, I know that would have been a true man as a father.
He's got 6 kids in the house. They ain't my brother's kids. My brother's choking on smoke. You're pretending to cry, looking dumbfounded me. And your wife's there crying her eyes out, knowing that she's fell for your shit.
Jamie tries to get into the back bedroom where 10-year-old Jade is sleeping, but Jamie can't get through the bedroom window.
That soul destroyed me knowing that girl was only an arm away and I couldn't, as big as I am, I couldn't touch her, I couldn't get to her. And I couldn't get her, couldn't touch her.
The emergency services arrive, and Jamie is told to stay out of the burning building. A few minutes later, the children's bodies are brought out, one by one, with 10-year-old Jade first.
Her hair was black. And I put her straight in the ambulance. And then that was it, the boys started coming at him. I was trying to resuscitate him, and you just knew as soon as you see him come out. The little souls are gone, man.
13-year-old Dwayne is the last to be brought out.
Every day I look up that street, I see that young lad in his blue shorts, bare legs, bare top. For 10 minutes they tried to resuscitate him. I was begging God, please put some life into this baby, please. Just one. I know it was no good with the others because they shot off straight away. So they knew that they was dead already. Well, that poor lad had a little bit of fight, but not enough.
An inconsolable Jamie even apologises to Philpott for not saving his children.
I even apologised to that bloke for not being able to save his babies. And that kills me, that destroys me. I would have died for its kids. If only he would have just shown me some inspiration inside himself, I would have died. You know, my kids would have lost their dad, but they would have lost it for a good reason, because I'd do it for them. And I'd expect any father to do the same if it was me who needed help.
13-year-old Dwayne is taken to hospital and is on a life support machine, while Philpott asks Mick and Sharon to go to the mortuary with them to see his dead children.
Mairead was crying. My husband got very upset. He was crying, and Mick was hugging my husband, saying, "Come on, it'll be all right. It's all right."
He was comforting me. I can't understand. He was comforting me. I was crying, sitting there crying my head up, and he was comforting me. You know, I'm supposed to be the one comforting him.
The fact that he took his friend Mick into the mortuary with him, the fact that he stood there and watched Mick break down, and he just stood there watching, that is unbelievable. And it was all part of, look at me, poor Philpott. I'm the one that needs sympathy. I'm the one that needs attention. But he wasn't showing any signs of distress, no signs of grieving, nothing. It was all about Philpott.
Meanwhile, 13-year-old Dwayne is fighting for his life, but friends think Philpott and Mairead don't appear concerned.
They weren't in the room all the time with Dwayne, and I thought that was a bit weird, because if that was me, you know, I'd stay there constantly. I'd be by my boy's side.
Philpott has something else on his mind: sex.
And all I said was, Mick shouted, "Mick!" And I turned round and I said, "What?" And he's grabbing this girl's arse and saying, "This is what I like." I was thinking, You got a lad in there dying, mate, and 5 of your kids are dead, and that's what you're still thinking about.
3 days after the fire, Philpott and Mairead switch off Dwayne's life support machine. In the days following the fire, their behaviour makes Sharon suspicious.
The behaviour, it was just strange, the way they was acting. And I started to have my suspicions. To be going downtown shopping for clothes, and I just think, you know, I couldn't function if that was me. I wouldn't want to get up in the morning.
Mairead shows no signs of coming clean.
She has an opportunity to tell the police the truth, to say, this is totally my fault, this is his fault, we did this together, it wasn't meant to happen. And even though it's still inexcusable, the children have still died, it's the fact that she would recognise her actions, the consequences of those actions, as would he. But instead, they start to concoct a story. And in that, we realise that she takes no responsibility for the children. Again, as has been reported by her throughout their relationship, she puts Philpott first.
5 days after the fire, Philpott tells police he wants to hold a press conference. Brothers Jamie and Darren Butler see the same fake behaviour they witnessed that night.
It was only when I seen the press conference that it clarified what we were both thinking.
I've actually been down to our home, and what we saw, we just cannot believe it.
It was the same posture, the same body language, the same fake reaction that we seen that night. And that's when I contacted the police and said, you need to hear what I've got to say.
We can't express our gratitude to everybody.
The only thing on your mind during that press conference is please find who killed my children. That's all you concentrate on. And when I watched that press conference, I struggled to see that at all. All I can see is a man almost with a script, thinking it's important to let everyone know how grateful he is. And let me tell you, psychologically, the last thing you are after all your children have died in a house fire is grateful.
There was not one tear on that man's face. There is not one part of that man that feels any remorse for those children. Because the only person that he has ever felt anything for is Mick Philpott.
Philpott's first victim, Kim Hill, is also watching the press conference.
I says, Mum, he's done it. She went, no, he hadn't. I says, I'm telling you now, he's behind this.
Police see through the facade, and a few weeks later, Philpott, Mairead and Paul Mosley are charged with the manslaughter of the 6 children.
When it came to say that they'd been arrested, I thought, yeah, they've got him.
They plead not guilty, and Philpott is determined to have his day in court.
It was the Philpott show. His description of his sexual behaviour, references to his dogging, to his threesomes.
It shouldn't have been about that. It should have been about those children. They were complete innocents, and they've paid a price for their dad being Mick Philpott.
It's February 2013, and Mick Philpott, his wife Mairead and Paul Mosley are all awaiting trial for the manslaughter of Philpott and Mairead's 6 children. But Philpott's mind appears to be on other matters. With echoes of the note he wrote to girlfriend Kim Hill in 1978 after trying to murder her, Philpott doesn't show any remorse in a letter he sends to his friend Mick Russell. In it, he describes what he wants to do to Mairead when they are released.
After being charged with killing these 6 kids and arson and everything, he's still saying, when I get out of jail, we're going to spend the day, all day at the grave with the kids, whether it's raining, snowing, and we will rape each other. In fact, yes, we will rape each other. You know, it's just all revolves around sex all the time for him.
That shows, again, his narcissism, his deviant sexual appetite, his lack of love and compassion for his children, and his sheer depravity.
In March 2013, the trial begins at Nottingham Crown Court, and Philpott seems determined to be the centre of attention.
It was the Philpott show. His description of his sexual behaviour, references to his dogging, to his threesomes, to his sexual desires. The fact that that even featured at the trial following the death of his 6 children is shocking.
It shouldn't have been about that. It should have been about those children. They were complete innocents, and they've paid a price for their dad being Mick Philpott.
And the saddest thing is that I doubt anybody will remember the names of those 6 children. Dwayne, Jade, John, Jack, Jesse and Jaden. But I guarantee every one of us will remember Mick Philpott. And that's a tragedy.
Jamie and Darren Butler are called to court and give damning evidence describing Philpott and Mairead's behaviour on the night of the fire.
I did that for them little babies. They needed justice.
My eyes were just fixed on him and Mairead, and they couldn't look at me.
On April the 3rd, Philpott, Mairead and Mosley were found guilty of manslaughter. Mairead and Mosley were given 17 years in prison, while Philpott is sentenced to life imprisonment and ordered to serve a minimum of 15 years. In a final act of defiance, Philpott makes an obscene gesture in court.
When they said on the news, guilty, I just was sick. I felt stupid, I felt ashamed because I was convinced it wouldn't do it.
Can't get my head around Mairead. She gave birth to them. And obviously she knew what was happening. So why didn't she stop him? She's an evil bitch. To do that to your kids is evil.
The impact of this horrendous crime is far-reaching.
There is so many levels of betrayal regarding Philpott. The betrayal of his children, the betrayal of his friends, the betrayal of a whole community, the betrayal of a nation. Philpott covered all bases.
For the Butler brothers, the emotional scars from that night remain.
Some nights I find myself going in and then not being able to help him still. Because it's that bad. I just drop. But I'm trying to cover up. Trying to...
Dr Keri Nixon believes that in order to try and understand this horrific crime, we need to look back at Philpott's behaviour more than 30 years ago.
To understand Philpott and to understand how this incident unfolded, we look to when he was 19. He was a monster then, who abused, hurt, tried to kill his old girlfriend, Kim. That behaviour began then. Philpott the monster began then. Philpott became a monster many, many years ago.
For Kim Hill and her family, Philpott's actions are still having devastating effects.
He put a shadow over our family.
Kim's mum, Shirley, who Philpott stabbed 11 times, was diagnosed with terminal cancer of the liver last year. And Kim believes her mum is Philpott's final victim.
We believe that the scar tissue has caused, after all these years, the cancer.
With Philpott finally serving a life sentence, Kim wants to make the most of the precious time she has left with her mum.
I don't want what he's done to sully the memory of what time we've got left with my mum and our family unit.
Philpott's horrific crimes shook the nation. But his 6 children, tragically taken before their time, will never be forgotten.